Yes, so I am like also really pumped to welcome Niels on stage. I can almost say like the face of Perspective. The man, the Michael Borgner sent himself because he said like I'm way too incompetent. I need to send my most competent man. So I'm really grateful that you're here and that you share how you, I mean, I introduced it earlier, like how you spend a bunch of money on Matter and appearingly make it like profitable. So thank you for being here and
thanks so much.
Yeah, enjoy.
Appreciate it, my guy. Thank you so much, everyone. Really excited to be here. So Philip approached me, I think 2 weeks ago or something, and he said like, hey, should we spin something up for the keynote? And I was wondering how I can provide the most value. And so basically, I'm not sure anybody was here as well last year for the Mastermind. Yeah, bunch of faces. Yeah, beautiful. So then you actually also saw Michael's presentation, and he shared a little something about the journey from basically going or building our agency from 0 to 2 million a year. And for those of you that don't know Perspective, we basically built an agency and turned that agency into a software product because at the end of the day, what we did was we built paid advertising funnels, right? We ran ads for our clients. And so we took that and took the learnings from that and turned it into a software product. And so basically, I thought, how can I do Mikey all the honor? And the answer was, I think, to basically just continue that story and share a little bit more about how we did this thereafter. After launching our software product. Where we're now basically doing more than 10 million a year in revenue. And so in the last couple of years, we grew that exact business to over 6,000 active B2B customers. And funny enough, who would have thought we did that on the basis of paid advertising funnels, right? And so up until today, even more so today, paid ads is actually again one of our main channels. And I think for many agencies, you have different channels, right? You diversify away maybe from cold outbound, cold emails, and all that good stuff. Loom videos was mentioned. Masterminds also definitely a strategy. But till this day, and to be honest, I just get a little self-conscious once in a while. I'm wondering, should we diversify away a little bit more? Should we do more than meta ads? And at the end of the day, I always come back to the conclusion that most likely, until we really exhausted everything, no. And so for us, this has really been the main channel, and today I really want to share a little bit more about that. But as I said, we grew a paid advertising software business with paid advertising funnels. And so it's a little bit like funnel inception, right? So we grow funnels with funnels. And so just quick question, who here is an active user of Perspective? Really quick show of hands, beautiful. Can you take your hand down if you use it for service delivery? So keep your hand up if you use it for ads. Okay, so who is in general using Perspective? Quickly, hands up. Beautiful. Take your hand down if you use it for service delivery. Beautiful. Anybody of you guys are using it to grow your own business? To run ads for yourself? Is that a main channel for you? The XR boys are, which is very nice. And so basically, I'm talking to many of our agency customers every single week, and basically, one thing that I see is that the most successful agencies, if we take a look into their Perspective account, they not only use Perspective to do their service delivery, right, to do recruiting, to win clients for their clients, but they actually win clients for themselves as well. And so with that being said, I think one of the best ways to provide some value to you guys today is basically do and share exactly that, essentially how we win B2B clients successfully and very consistently with paid advertising funnels on paid social. And in your case, of course, how to use that to get some more agency clients because, that's what we're all here for. Beautiful. And so for that, I'm going to share 3 main things. First of all, I want to dive a little deeper into the 2 currently most successful funnels for agencies or in general B2B, also some examples of how we use them, and of course how we can use them to win clients consistently. Second of all, I'll get really nitty-gritty and tactical for the meta ads process as to how we launch and test 20 to 30 new creatives a week, and then thereafter a Q&A or overall marketing Q&A, and I also brought a little nice present for you guys, which is of course cool, exactly. And so with that being said, we're jumping right in with the currently 2 most successful funnels for agencies, and just, sorry? And I just want to provide a quick info up front, which is basically that our funnels currently are collecting more than 25,000 leads a day. And if you extrapolate that over the year, that's 9 million data points on conversions. And basically, how we just try to ensure that all of our customers are as successful as it can get is we take these data points and we turn them into basically features and templates, right? So we continuously just collect as much feedback from the market as possible, as well as much feedback from our customers as possible, to then, as I said, turn that into features and templates to always make sure that we can provide you guys with the state-of-the-art funnels. And so, a little sparkle right there. First template that I wanted to share with you is actually responsible for making us more than $3 million in revenue and collecting over 31,000 qualified leads for us. And I'm going to break this down now in a little bit more detail. And quick question, who has seen my ads? Who has clicked on my ads? Okay, couple ones. So then you most probably also have seen this funnel before. So I'm talking about the case study funnel. And it's, to be honest, I think the most used funnel from us. Essentially, we probably have 3 to 4 variations of this active as of right now, and it's one of the most important funnels actually in our strategy in general. And I'm going to break it down into detail, but let me just quickly share a little bit about why case study funnels work so well, especially for any business in B2B or any business that sells a product that needs some education. Right, similar to what Brian shared before, essentially if people watch your YouTube videos, they are way more likely to close, and that's also similar to what the case study funnel concept is about, because at the end of the day, what we have on the first page here is we're promoting a case study video, right? We're promoting a desired results that our audience has. In this case, for example, as we try to target agencies quite often, the copy and paste $3.2 million agency strategy. As many of you are in recruiting, something like this could be, for example, how we get 100 applications a month for $5 each, or how we hire 3 people in industry X, Y, and Z every month, right? Things like that. So a desired result of our audience. And then the reason why this is so genius, because at the end, and I'll go through the flow in a bit, we have a video which is the case study video, which then is the disguised VSL as a value proposition in and of itself. Because people are then actually more inclined to watch the video because they have opted in to watch it, right? And if we turn that into a really, really strong VSL, that actually can lead into a lot of book calls up front. And of course, we have a bunch of opportunities to recover some of the lost ones as well. Exactly, so let's get into the details. First page, as you can see here, landing page. In this case, we have a nice GIF on top, which we just have tested over and over again. We just want to make sure that for whatever people are opting in for, we want to make it as tangible as possible, right? So we just need to make sure that they exactly see what they can get. And in the ages of the internet, we can't touch things, right? We can't necessarily touch the service. We can't touch applications. We can't touch leads. But the more we can make them feel like they can touch what they're about to get, the better that will actually convert. Next up, strong headline, of course, just portraying what we actually are offering. In this case, a case study, nice call to action, couple of a nice logo bar there just to add some proof. And then you can't see it on here, but we actually have some more testimonials. And then from there on, we lead into the qualification.
For the landing page, do you like generate the GIF like every time? Really, like do you try to match like the exact frame when they click, or is it like a winning GIF you just like?
We use one that matches the video. Yeah, so for...
You like to use it every time.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to make sure that the experience is clean right from front to end, and so if that's the expectation we set, we want it to be matched on the VSL page. Exactly. Cool, and then from there on, from the landing page, we lead into a couple of quiz questions. And interestingly enough, one would think that by introducing questions, you're introducing more friction into the funnel and thus are getting a lower conversion rate, right? That's, I think, like the general assumption that you would have. We have tested this multiple times in B2B, and we actually found that by asking qualification questions, you are very much likely to also up the conversion rate because you have the sunk cost bias working for you. It's pretty much like, I think this strategy exists in dating as well, but off topic. But basically, with every question that a potential client is answering, right, they're investing more into your funnel. And when you then hit them with the opt-in page, they are actually more likely to say yes, which in general ups the overall conversion rate. But again, usually we recommend just testing that for yourself. That is what has worked for us. Because of course, asking questions also comes with a couple other benefits, right? So first things first, we can pre-qualify the traffic within the funnel. I'll get to that for the second funnel also in a little bit more detail, but if you split up the traffic in qualified and unqualified people, first of all, you don't waste your sales team's time, which we all know is super important. Second of all, we can actually set up the conversions API, or in general, like the attribution, to make sure that we only send back the qualified people back to Meta, so the algorithm can optimize more for these qualified people. So that's quite nice. Beautiful. And then, of course, depending on what questions you ask, right, especially if it's a call funnel or this results in a call, then you or your sales team can also, of course, pinpoint desires and pain points more closely, which actually also helps with the close in the end. So even maybe if you have a 1 or 2 percentage point lower conversion rate, it might still make sense to ask questions. That's what we've seen over and over again. Beautiful. Then from there on, we just lead into a simple opt-in page. One more time, reinforcing the offer here, just making sure they always really know what they're getting out of it, right? It's what's in it for me, not what's in it for them, not what's in it for us. And essentially, in here in this example, you see we're asking for an email address, but in your cases, right, as you're more sales-led in terms of the acquisition, you would rather want to ask for the phone number, because you got to make them dials, right? So. Exactly, and from there on, and that's now where the genius part is basically happening, is we have this case study landing page, or the actual case study VSL, and because people are already primed to now watch the video, if we communicated that well in the ads and in the landing page, we actually get a way higher view rate for the VSL. And now it's of course super important as to how the VSL is actually structured, because as I said, this is super nice for any business that needs a lot of education, or any product that needs a lot of education, but if we really make sure that this VSL first of all hooks them into the result, we already know they're interested in the result, they're already primed to now watch a video, and we then have a super strong hook, and also lead into a nice educational part with a strong close in the end, either with an offer or maybe like a softer sales pitch, depends on really what you're going for, but at the end of the day, the calls that will then be produced through this funnel will be a lot more likely to close, just because on the fact that the content that they already consumed basically just underlines your competency very heavily, as well as your entire process. So you can guess, if you have clicked on one of my ads, if you maybe have even opted in one of these funnels, and if you maybe even watched one of these videos, the question is, what do you think I'm showing there? It's essentially, I'm breaking down exactly how I got the result you're looking for with perspective, right? And if you can do the exact same, so you can essentially show your potential customer how you got the result that they're looking for with your agency service, and that is just the logical next step to work with you, they're actually way more inclined to actually book a call and then also close. Beautiful. Go ahead.
So you embed the video with Visca, right?
Yeah, that's a little annoying. We now have that feature ourselves, god damn it. But, but yeah, in this case, Vistia.
The cure is not necessarily only to you, maybe also to the room. What are your guys' like experience with testing if you can skip the video or if you can't skip? I mean, with Vistia you can like set that up, and I feel like there's always like split opinions on that. I don't know if you have like any data, or Brian, I think you probably also saw like a couple of these data.
Yeah. To be quite frank, I haven't personally tested that so far. I'm always more in the camp of actually allowing it to just make sure that the experience is a little easier. And I think, you know, with introducing that friction, you either get a lot of people to actually watch it, or with that friction, you actually annoy a lot of people to go and not watch it. So we haven't tested that for ourselves. We always, of course, relentlessly measure, okay, what's the engagement rate, what's the view rate, and if that's all up to par, that's all we're looking out for. But maybe, Ryan, if you have an insight there.
Right now, there's a few people that are doing 8 figures that they're actually putting not just the speed, like where you can speed it up, but they're also putting timestamps in the actual VSL. So like when they drop, like if it's a pricing, like when they drop the pricing, when they talk about case studies, like because like on YouTube videos now, you're seeing chapters, right? Yeah. Like I like seeing chapters because I want to be able to skip to the part where I want to watch immediately. So if you're giving that person the user experience on the VSL as well, it can help. But again, you know.
Yeah, like my reasoning behind that would be, on the sales call, people want to know the price. Is it the best thing to just like start with the price when they don't, if you didn't like build up the pain and the gap and everything, you know, like, yeah.
Well, I mean, in B2B, like selling an agency service, it might be different, but I'm always upfront with the pricing because I don't want people on the call if they don't know, you know? Like I would want, that's how we increase the close rate, so yeah.
Yeah, maybe on that point, one thing that we had to learn is essentially, I think we all have maybe already spent hours and hours creating a 15-minute video, right? Scripting it, designing the slides, and like really pouring our heart out into this. Turns out I then recorded a video, scripted and recorded in an hour, and it outperformed that other video that I put hours and hours in. And I was feeling stupid. And so at the end of the day, what we do by now is we really focus on just portraying the result that people want. We enter a lot of proof. We make sure it's super educational, that they actually know how to use our product. And thereafter, we just hit them with a really strong offer. If I have these 4 elements, I'm good. That's really what I'm looking out for. So really strong hook with a focus on the desire, a lot of proof, then a really strong educational part, and a really strong close or a really strong offer. These are the 4 elements that I'm looking out for. Yes. And so, as I said, so if you take a look at the structure, right, it's not the most complex funnel that you've seen. And of course, from there on, there's a lot more that you can do. You can also send automated emails, follow-ups, all that good stuff, and that's definitely what you need to do. But I'm just focusing more on the funnel part because that's what we have the most data on. One important thing to point out here, of course, with these nice interactive elements and all that good stuff, these come out of the box with Perspective, but you can never underestimate the actual creative work. So how good is the copy? How good is the ad that you're putting in front of people? How good is the VSL, right? You can have the best freaking funnel templates. If you mess it up thereafter, it won't do you any good. So that's, of course, very important to keep in mind. And so for that, I actually have a couple of videos on YouTube where we break down the exact structure as to how we do that. So if you want to check them out, we can send through the presentation, I think, thereafter at some point. Nice. Cool, and then I want to share a second funnel template, which has been developed a little bit more closely by now, but essentially this has been the main funnel that has resulted in over 950 qualified appointments for us back in the day with the agency and over $1.5 million in closed agency revenue. And who would have thought the name is the appointment funnel. And so this is, of course, perfect for more of a warm audience, right? I'll get to how to mix and match these in a bit. But essentially, the bigger the ask, the more warm the audience needs to be, the better the offer needs to be, or the better the creative needs to be. And when you try to get people on a call with you directly, you need a really strong VSL, right? Or you need a really strong creative in general. And so it's easier to run these to a more warmer audience, and I get to how to best do that in a bit. But basically, in terms of the structure, what we're having, we have once again a nice call VSL, really strong headline, really strong VSL, nice proof, again, focusing primarily on the elements that I just shared. Exactly, heavy lifting is definitely done by the VSL in this case. From there on, once again, qualification questions to also then, of course, help with the sales call so we actually know what our people are about, what their pain points are, what their desires are, to then be better or more able to sell to them and also to pre-qualify them. And then that's what I explained before, right? We split the traffic between a qualified page and an unqualified page. In this case, if somebody's qualified, so they meet our ICP, they're actually the type of person we can sell to. We send them to the booking page, where then it's of course like a nice seamless integration with Calendly and Perspective. But from there on, they can of course then just choose their slot. And in case, for example, that they would drop off here, we would still collect the things like phone number and all that good stuff, so we can dial up the ICP, so dial up the people that are actually qualified. Beautiful. Then, of course, everybody knows we have to have our reminder sequences dialed in, and I think Ryan is even more qualified to talk about these things, and maybe that's a nice opportunity to match these strategies. But essentially, from there on, we once again have a nice unqualified CTA. You can, of course, just say, for example, hey, I don't offer them anything, but we usually try to still capture these type of people, minimum for our email list, of course. Right, so what you could do here in this case, if you're just asking for a phone number or something like that, and you have a downsell then for like a smaller offer, for example, a community, especially matched also for coaching products, but there might be something else that you want to offer them, right? Because we all know a non-qualified lead might still turn into an opportunity later in the day if nurtured correctly, and so we just want to make sure that we're not losing out on that opportunity. And then again, we only send back the leads that are qualified back to Meta to make sure that the algorithm actually optimizes in our favor. Cool. And then, as I said, you can also, of course also mix and match these. And this is also kind of similar to how we're running it, but I adjusted it a little bit more for what it would look like for an agency. So basically, we have multiple case study funnels going on cold, right? So we break down different use cases, we break down different results. And if you have a couple of very, very strong cases in your customer base, you could do the same. Because, of course, at some point, also depending, of course, how big your total addressable market is, but you would just want to make sure that all the people that are in a total addressable market know at all times that you're delivering. They should know that you're the best at what you do. And that's really, really nicely done through these types of case study funnels. From there on, we of course collect the phone number, we can make our dials, from there on book further calls, and of course for anybody that is opting into these funnels or has any other qualification, maybe watched a longer ad of yours, maybe an in-feed VSL that you're running on Meta, to 75%, we want to retarget them and get that traffic straight to the appointment funnel. Beautiful. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Any questions there? Yeah? Then I have a question for you, which is, who knows this guy? Do you know his name?
Sabri Subi.
Sabri Subi, the self-proclaimed internet daddy. So maybe we can learn a thing or two from him. But essentially, if you take a look at Sabri Subi's ad library or his agency's ad library, King Kong, and you analyze that, he runs exactly that strategy. There's nothing else. So essentially, ads targeted on cold that are going towards either a case study funnel or something where he's just having something that's a tangible offer that cold people are actually interested in. And then from there on, really, really strong retargeting with very diverse content, VSLs in feed, nice case studies in feed, and basically sending all that traffic to a quiz funnel, where he's then offering a call with his agency. And by the way, crazy stat, so 2023, I think he made $25 million with his agency. So yeah, might be interesting to look into that. Sorry?
That's why you copied the black and black style, right?
Yeah, of course. Hopefully taking the rank as internet daddy someday, but yeah, of course. That will join soon as well, yeah. Cool, all right, so we covered funnels now. Next, I just want to speak a little bit more about the media buying and creative process in the back end, because all of us know creative, and I mentioned that a bunch of times, right? All the technical stuff, that is super important to know. We just need to have the basics covered. And you also know that most likely if you're running ads for your clients, but at the end of the day, what's the most important piece is creative. And when I say creative, I not necessarily only mean the image or the video that you put in feed on Meta, but I mean everything that is creative work, everything that is non-technical work. So in this case, what headline is on your funnel? What is the script of the video sales letter? How is the video sales letter in general structured? Anything where it's creative work, that's what I mean with creative, because of course the interplay of everything is what actually drives performance at the end of the day. And so if you have never run paid ads for yourself to win clients, what you'll find is that you of course don't really know where to start, right? And so the first order of business, whenever I'm recommending that strategy, or whenever I'm staring into a blank ad account and we never have run a campaign, we don't have any data points, the first order of business is just figure out what works. And that is best done through volume. That is best done through basically just testing as many things as possible. And so that's exactly what I want to focus on today. I'm not going to go too deeply into the production side of things of our marketing team, but at the end of the day, we just need to make sure that we're collecting a lot of data on the creative side of things to really figure out what works. And so for that, now it's going to be a little bit more technical. For those of you that are into media buying, nice. For those that aren't, hope you still stick through. But at the end of the day, we have a simple ad account structure here. And we've been spending on some days 15 grand a day on some good days. And essentially, I think if you're listening to a lot of media buyers, and maybe Brian, you have a good opinion on that as well, but you hear a lot of fancy terms at some point, right? So bid caps, CBOs, cost per result goal, whatever you name it. Like there's so many things you can do on Meta. It's a little bit like the midwit meme, right? You have like testing ABO, CBO on one hand, in the middle you have all the things, and then on the right, the Jedi once again does the testing ABO and CBO, but essentially that's all you need. We go with the standard bidding strategies and all that good stuff, but I'll break it down a little bit more closely because we really try to keep it simple. And so everything starts by testing things, right? Everything starts by just attempting whatever you think might be something that will resonate with your audience. And so that's where we have the testing ABO. And so sorry for using so many acronyms, marketers love it. But essentially ABO stands for ad set budget optimization if you haven't run ads before. And it only means that we have basically multiple ad sets in a given campaign, and we can assign specific budgets for each of these ad sets. So we can essentially say, I want to spend $10 a day on this one, $10 a day on this one, $10 a day on this one. And a couple benchmarks maybe for those that are interested. So basically what we're trying to do is we always start ad sets at 2x the target CPA. And what that means is, of course, depends on the event that you're optimizing for, but let's just assume you're primarily optimizing for leads, right? So we want to get contact data, that's the primary event, and we want to pay $30 per lead max. Then we want to start an ad set at $60 a day. The reason being, because we just want to get data fast. This, of course, really depends also on the type of resources you have, and you know that most likely from working with clients. Some clients say, hey, can we start with $3 a day? Can we start with $10 a day? And of course, you can start with anything really, but at the end of the day, the more budget you have, the faster you'll learn, the more likely and the faster you'll get to success. Exactly, and so we start these, let's just assume $30 cost per lead, our goal cost per lead. We start these at $60 a day. We kill these whenever an ad, and this is now on the ad level, so ad set level, campaign level, ad level. If an ad has 2x our target CPA, we turn it off. Also meaning that if money is not the easiest resource, so of course, like always, might get high polls when looking into the ad account. It's like, damn, this ad now spent $50 per lead. Should I turn it off a little early? And it really depends on how much space you have to breathe, right? On how much oxygen you have in terms of cash. But then, how do we define a winner? If we kill all the ads that have a 2x CPA, we define it at 10 conversions at our target CPA. So if an ad has 10 conversions at $30 per lead, perfect, that's declared a winner. We want to scale that up. We want to have more of that. And ideally even, a really good winner has 10 conversions but spend less than your target CPA. Reason being, on Meta we have scale effects, right? So when you scale up the ad to more people, you reach more people that are less relevant, and thus the cost per action will most likely rise. So ideally we have a little bit of a buffer. Sorry for throwing around. Yeah.
You said like you put the budget, let's say, on that best performer copy, and then, oh, that's a single ad, like best performer copy.
That's an ad set. We have 4 ads within an ad set in this case. Okay. I'll break it down in a little bit more detail, but sorry, go ahead. Any specific question?
I wanted to ask, like you said, like double the budget. So you turn off a single ad when you spend like double the
correct.
And then you turn the single one off, but you leave
the rest running.
Okay.
Correct. There will be, and that's actually a good question, because you all know if you run meta ads, if you put 4 ads in an ad set and you assign $30 a day, you'll see that one ad usually gets all the spend, right? And so if that one ad doesn't really perform, we just turn that off and let the other ads continue. And so that's just how you rinse and repeat your way through, ideally. Cool. And one key concept that I want to share, and then it's maybe the point in time where this visualization gets a little clearer. We work on a principle called ad variable isolation. And so what does that mean in just plain English? It's basically test one thing at a time. It's of course super annoying if we don't necessarily know what has worked before, right? And we essentially have to test everything. If I've never run ads before, I don't know what will resonate. I can't test one thing at a time. Everything that I do is testing. And so that's a good thing, because as I said, all you have to do for now is just throw things at the wall and see what sticks. Do it to your best intentions, give it your all, like really think about what will be in the ad, right? But if you have confidence, you will get there, I'm pretty sure. Cool, so as I said, if all things are unknown, doesn't really matter, you just need to start out. But the beautiful part happens is essentially when you know things, when variables are not unknown anymore. So essentially, for example, ideally when we set up a new ad set, we have ran an ad before, we have ran an ad set before, we know exactly, hey, this one video that outperformed everything else. This was so good, right? Then what we want to do is we want to take that exact, let me just rephrase. Before we know that video works, and we maybe have a copy or two that have worked, what we'll do is we'll put that video, that new video, inside an ad set with all the other things being proven. So the link behind the ad is exactly the same as the things you've done before and that have worked before. The copy is exactly the same. The headline is exactly the same. The only thing that changes is the video, is the new concept that you're testing. Cool. We move on. If we have found a creative that worked well for us, let's say we record a video, right? That works well for us. From there on, we can do iterations of that, because believe it or not, Usually, when you scale up an ad account, the heavy lifting is always done by 1 or 2 creatives. Even if you're spending 10 grand a day, 15 grand a day, I've seen companies that spend 60 grand a day and it's 1 or 2 creatives. And so what we want to do when we find these gems, right, when we find these hidden champions, we want to make sure to serve them as long as possible. And we can do that by doing creative iterations, right? And so that essentially means having different designs. That essentially means having somebody else record the same ad. That means me recording the same ad in a different setting. And we launch all of these to make sure that we can serve the results that this ad is getting as long as possible. And I'll get to the process of that in a bit. Cool. But in this case, all the other things are still the same. So funnel exactly the same, copy exactly the same, audience exactly the same. And then last example, for example, we have a super successful ad. All we try to do in this one, once again, we have 4 times then the same ad in this case, but maybe 4 different headlines that we're testing. And so that is essentially how we just try to make sure that, whenever we find a winner that really works for us, we just squeeze it as much as possible. Exactly. Cool. What's important to note is if you have a completely new funnel, right, so something that you have never tested before, maybe completely new messaging, let's assume you build out a case study funnel, then you won't necessarily know which ad will work. And once again, that's the point in time where you just need to, try. You just need to figure it out. And you do that by high-speed testing and also volume. Exactly.
So you're saying across all the data from Perspective, you've seen that the case study funnel is the #1 funnel that all the clients on Perspective use as well, that gets them the best?
It really depends on the industry. Our product is super diverse, yeah. But it's actually something especially whenever selling B2B, also info product as well, it's been super successful, yeah. We have one agency in the States that I think does 8,000 leads for their customers a week through exactly that funnel, for example. Yeah. Cool. So after we've tested, and I know this is a lot maybe to take in, but after we've tested, and this is now the nice simple part, we only have to spend money, right? Just muster up as much money as possible and spend it on the things that work. So in this case, we have a scaling CBO, and that means campaign budget optimization. We let Meta decide more on where to allocate the budget. We only put things in here, so these are the ad sets and ads now. We only put things in here that have worked before on the previous testing grounds. Exactly. Now, if we have just had the testing campaign, we have never scaled an ad before, it's of course quite scary to spend a lot of money. So that's something I just took some time to understand, but at the end of the day, you can always start with little budgets. And when things work, you scale it up and surf it up gradually. And so the main goal here is to essentially, let's assume we're spending 10 grand a month on ads, to have ideally, for example, 8 grand a month on this campaign, the other 2K on the other campaign. Of course, depends on how many successful things you have. And you want this to be as full as possible. As many winning ads, as many winning audience and ad variations and combinations as you can muster, because that will ensure that you'll have a stable engine. Most likely in that entire campaign, there will only be one creative that will spend all your money. And then at some point, one day you see, God damn it, we didn't make any leads today. There are no calls booked. What the heck is going on? And all you have to do usually then, if you have validated all the other rest, is you turn that off. And there's the next one, picking up the spend. And so that's the goal. So the real rush, the real challenge is just finding as many creatives that can actually work for you. Exactly. And so just quickly going back to that point of iterations, because once we have a winning creative, all we really need to care about is making sure that we can serve that winning creative, because it's actually quite hard to find these really killer ads. It's going to take a lot of work and it's going to take a lot of testing. But once we have this ad, and so I'll just break it down really quickly, we turn that winner into multiple variations all at once. For example, I take that same ad, I take that same script, I ask somebody else to record it. I take that same script, I record it again in a nice villa like this one, right? Other option, we remix successful hooks and bodies. So the first 5 to 10 seconds of an ad usually have a big impact on how the performance will go in general. So what we'll do is we'll take a winning body, for example, the ad that I just tested, and it worked super well. We take another hook that worked before, or 5 other hooks that worked before, we put them together, we launch it as a new ad set. And then last but not least, and these are of course the lowest impact ones, but overlays and in general design iterations, are also possible, right? So just making sure that it's visually different, either by having a different headline in the first couple of seconds or by actually having a design iteration. And one example here, so this is one of our recent best performers. Maybe some of you have seen this ad, but it spent probably 20 grand already in the last couple, 1 or 2 weeks. And so essentially, one of these design iterations is simply, and this one is another winner, this actually works again. So this was turned off, we launched this one, and all that was different was just the visual first 5 seconds, and it's working again. And so if we were to just turn this off, I would have to tell Mikey, hey, my man, unfortunately, results aren't as good anymore. Luckily, we have this one, right? And so that's why that's just so important. Cool, and with that being said, a couple of KPIs that we're looking at to just make sure that this entire engine runs really well is essentially % of winners and losers that we launch every week. If we launch 10 creatives a week, and 2 of them are winners, so that means they're put into that scaling CBO, that's a 20% win rate. So that is what we're already always measuring to just make sure that we just match our benchmarks essentially. Number of new concepts, because one thing that is important to mention here is, let's assume we find one winning ad and it really, really works for us. What is quite easy to do is to just assume if that one works, let's do that forever. Let's create as many iterations as possible. Let's let 10,000 people record that ad. But turns out at some point you just squeezed the entire lemon. So it's actually super important to still be very rigorous on testing new concepts all the time, and that applies for funnels, and that applies for creative, more so creative, because we have had funnels that ran successfully for over 2 years. Cool, and the last but not least, % testing and scaling, because at the end of the day, we'll have targets, right? We know how much we want to spend for customer acquisition. And if we test new things, there will be a lot of budget spent in an unoptimized way, meaning we will most likely spend more per lead on some instances because we just didn't know if they will work or not. We'll most likely spend more per call booked and all the good stuff. And so we just want to make sure, especially once we figured out what works well for us, to have a majority of budget on the scaling campaigns, so that, that the efficiency that's a little less on the testing side of things isn't really much of a problem for us to still be overall profitable in acquisition, if that makes sense.
What ratios are you looking for?
We're currently at 25% testing, rest of scaling. But it really depends also on the state of the ad account, right? So let's just assume we just don't have any...
Like 25% of your entire budget is in testing.
Correct. So considering we don't have an ad that works for us, there might be months where you suddenly spend 80% in testing just because you're just back to the drawing board figuring it out.
Yeah. And what was like your winner-loser ratio?
Roughly 30%. Yeah. It's important to also note that not all winners are created equal, right? So there are some ads that can spend 100 grand profitably. There are some ads that are considered winners but only spend 20 grand before they just don't work anymore. So it's, it's also a volumes question.
When do you consider a winner a winner?
When it achieved 10 conversions at a target cost per conversion. So that's on campaign level, right? Really depends on what you're optimizing for. Might be a lead, might be a call. In our case, might be a software sign up, might be a sale of something regarding software bundle or whatever, info product. So it really depends on what you're optimizing for. Cool. Then of course the question becomes, how does it all fit together? And now I just want to quickly showcase what it would look like in terms of figuring it out for yourself if you don't run paid ads so far. And so essentially it all starts with the funnel, right? For example, you have this one super successful client where you think like that's our prime case. We just need to make sure that the world knows that we have this case. Either it's somebody famous or it's just a really, really good result that you can really go and share with the world. So we start with that, you create a nice concept there. From there on, you create the first ads for it. And both of these are unknown variables. We just don't know if it will work. And from there on, the next best thing that we can do is measure all the KPIs that are coming back to us after launching. So let's just assume we're spending 10 bucks a day, 30 bucks a day on ads. The media buyer or you yourself, if usually as a founder you're figuring out the channels first yourself, you will just need to measure everything in detail. So conversion rate of the funnel entirely, view rate of the VSL, engagement rate of the VSL, page conversion rates, lead to call conversion rates, cost per qualified leads, cost per action in this case, but cost per call, for example. So you would just need to collect all data that you have and see where is the highest opportunity for me to optimize. If you have a multi-step funnel, right, and you get 10% from the first to the second page, you already know there's a lot of opportunity there, right? So where are we losing the majority of people? That's always where we first focus on. If you have a VSL, you get 100 page views, only 5 people watch the VSL. You know what to improve, right? It's how you project the entire VSL in the funnel, or how what the hook looks like in the VSL and all that good stuff. So really just make sure that you measure, and from there on you'll know what to do. And then of course, and that's once again I think Philip more the expert, or Brian more the expert to speak of this, but you'll have all of the entire KPIs then of course from your sales team, right? For all the people that are then booking a call, or that you're dialing up to book a call, you'll know the show up percentage, you know the call close rate, all that good stuff, and then ultimately you'll know the CAC, you know customer acquisition cost. And from there on, you know if you need to iterate heavily or to scale the funnel. If you have a nice return, you want to scale up, of course, but at the end of the day, the story is still the same, because even when you're profitable, you want to be more profitable. Because if you spend more money on that funnel, it will be less profitable just because you're sending it to more people. So you always need to optimize, going back to the drawing board, really figuring out the metrics, and then just seeing where you can optimize there. And from there on, iterations and optimizations. We just go and launch A/B tests on the funnel. We just we launch iterations of the creatives that have worked well. We launch new concepts, and that is an entire process. And a Perspective, that's an entire team, right? And as I said, I've got self-conscious before. I thought to myself, maybe we should diversify heavily into other things. But yeah, to be honest, it's been working really well recently, just because we are back to the drawing board, doing exactly what we know best, which is scaling paid advertising funnels. And so this is just such a nice and gratifying channel when you figure it out. It's a lot of work, especially once you try to scale it up, because there's a lot of production that comes with it. But if you have the funnel set and you have one funnel that works, it is actually really gratifying, scalable, and actually quite consistent. Cool. And so with that being said, of course, all you need is one funnel to change everything, right? This one funnel that maybe runs for 2 years, and you can actually scale to a specific amount of pipeline. Maybe that's an extra 1 million pipeline a year that you can add with that channel. Maybe even more, depending on how great your total addressable market is, of course. And just one word of caution: when figuring out something new, it's always going to be frustrating. But as I said, once you break through, it's a really good feeling. Exactly. And with that being said, it's time for questions and answers. And one little thing for you guys, because most of you are, or many of you are Perspective users. I actually brought the templates, of course, for you to copy and paste into your Perspective account. But so essentially, if you want to just grab them, you can. I didn't want to pitch, but of course, you can also grab a free trial if you don't have a Perspective account. But you can just copy and paste them and use them for yourself, exactly as I showed them to you guys. So yeah, hope you enjoyed. And now open for some questions, of course. Really appreciate it. Anything that I can clarify right away, or we'll keep that for the Q&A?
What do you guys do internally for managing the creative testing iterations in Flow? Like, it's not in Perspective, is it?
So creative is not managed in Perspective, no. So there's a couple things that come together, but basically, and this is really technical, but at the end of the day, like, all the different combinations get one ID in total. So a specific video, copy, landing page, hook, creator, all of these variables are defined into one variable, and that's the ad name. And based on like a sheet, we have an automation where it's combined with our third-party attribution tracking, which then leads into a creative dashboard where our creative team essentially just looks at, okay, these are the 3 best ads from last week, these are the iterations that we'll do, and just it's just production like that.
Do you guys integrate with Hyros yet?
So it is possible. I've seen a bunch of customers do it successfully, but I think it's still a little bit of a workaround. But it's definitely something I can get up to the list soon. Yeah.
That's the only reason why we haven't switched over.
Okay, dude. It's good to know.
Yes. Okay,
Anything else?
I would say we do. Do you guys have marketing questions? I mean, yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, if not, we don't need to do a marketing Q&A. But if you have some questions.
There was one, I think.
Yes. How do you send the qualified leads back to Facebook or Meta?
So in this case, we primarily, especially for the lead events, we use the Perspective native integration. So You just simply set it up with the Pixel or the conversions API, and then you can define a specific page that people would hit or a specific conversion, send it back, and only that. Exactly. Yeah. Sure.
What's the minimum budget per ad you would use for testing, for example? So it's
a good question.
100 or is it 1,000?
Yeah.
You test for.
At the end of the day, it really depends on the conversion that you're optimizing for, right? So let's just assume we would be trying to sell a $100,000 product directly from an ad, and your goal customer acquisition cost is 50 grand. And considering that's the concept, right? Then you would need to spend at least that. If your goal is to generate leads for $5 per lead, then it's way, way less than that. So it really, really depends on what you're optimizing for. And so one thing that I have seen work generally well is just spending 2x the target cost per acquisition per ad.
Yeah, I think like in the agency context, probably the best is like cost per qualified booking and then 2x. So if your cost per, I don't know what your cost per qualified booking is. If it's like 250, 500 would be enough. If it's like more, then probably a little bit more. Yes.
If you start testing completely new, quasi from scratch, and have no data at all, how many different angles would you begin with, like the creatives?
It's a really good question. We actually recently, like a couple of weeks ago, launched a new webinar funnel that just turned out to be profitable this week, actually. So basically what we then start with is, for example, 5 angles. It's a number just chosen at will. I couldn't tell, I think like we could also do 10. You could also do 20, but it also means you need to allocate more budget to figure out if one of these work, right? We start with 5 because we have other sources of information that allow us to maybe have more of a confidence towards the 5 things that we're testing. And so at the end of the day, marketing is really about understanding who your customer is, right? And as you're talking to customers a lot, that's actually the main source of ideas for angles. And if you heard 10 customers say the same thing, you can most likely run an ad and be very confident that it actually will work. So we're really trying to be also very big on qualitative data. But the less you know, the more you have to test. Yeah.
And I think I want to add to that in the agency context, we're quite fans of just front loading the budget, because like if you run like a call funnel, then you can just take all the budget and spend it like in 10 days, because then you get like the bookings faster, you get the data faster, you actually can take the call, see what people booked, and you can get the return, especially if you work on a Amex or credit card. That's something we usually advise, not like spread it out, because then you wait. Yeah.
But yeah, it really depends on what the main resource is, right? If you can muster that budget to do that, beautiful. Then you'll get there faster, 100%.
I actually have a question for Brian.
He's making a vlog intro.
He's already recorded, for his blog, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so.
Cool. Anything else, gents, ladies? Yes, sir?
How do you define targets at the beginning, you know? I mean, if you have never run ads, how do you start? Is it just testing and then you get a feeling for it? Or?
It's at the end of the day, as you described it, you just need to test and need a feel for the data, right? So, for example, if I have a completely new product that I'm charging $2,000 a month for a completely new service, I don't know how long clients will stay. But if I learn that on average clients are staying with us 10 months, and we can muster 20 grand in LTV, then you'll also be able to spend more in the beginning. And that's really where, as I said, like where it can be a little frustrating. You're a little bit afraid to spend more, but when you are at the point where it's transparent, where you know your numbers and where you know what you are able to spend, that's where it gets a lot of fun. Exactly, but that's you're exactly right with that. Correct. Yeah. Go ahead.
Ever happened to you that the exact same video, same script has performed in the iteration better with a different creator than the original one?
The same script, so the only iteration is a different person recording it. That's a good question. I'm not entirely sure of exactly that combination, but we have had iterations that outperformed the previous winner, yes. Yeah, so for example with a different headline, which I'm now distinctly remembering, with just exactly same video, just a different headline up top, first 5 seconds, and that spent more than the original winner. That occurred definitely. Regarding creator, I'm not entirely sure. Yeah. Go ahead.
You build up the copy in the
the beginning, like the headline. Like, do you have like a framework for yourself how to use it, or like because everyone is saying like yeah, for sure it has to be strong. And
Yeah,
everything.
that's a good question, man.
Yeah, so I'm like.
It's a really good question. So I think by now, I don't necessarily use frameworks, but what you see here, if you just compare these two, it always has numbers. It always is super, super tangible. And that's just something I learned in B2B marketing. If I can have the craziest result, I'll write the best headline, right? And so I just try to make sure that whatever information I have, how can I portray it to be the most tangible, the most interesting to the person that is going to read the headline. And I know this is, so the answer at the end of the day is like a little bit intuition and a little bit just like knowing the person you're talking to. I'm sorry if it's not helpful, but it's... Sorry?
Before, after bridge, future pacing, do you use things like that and try them?
So to be honest, my man, it's like a little embarrassing. I personally don't work off of these concepts, but I have a video, and I can also link that thereafter, where I basically break down one of our super successful ads that I wrote, where a lot of these concepts are actually in there, but I didn't add them specifically, but.
Because if you have like 10 different storytelling types, for example, you can use the same and like say, okay, I do it like future pacing, I do like before after bridge, I do like this, that, and then like this is a different angle.
Totally.
Yeah, I think like I just pulled that up. Like we have started that for like YouTube organic videos. So we have like a whole like database where everything is like populated in, and then we basically ran a prompt to take the headlines and make frameworks out of it. And I think you don't use frameworks because it's sort of like intuitive. I would be curious about Brian. I don't know where he's gone. Like, is he still recording? Yes. Yeah. So it seems like he took some learnings. But I think he also has like good advice on that. But for me, it's like I think it's for you. It's natural. For me, it's like when I do a video, I just go in and I just like scan through the headlines and then my creativity sort of like kicks in, you know?
Yeah.
So I think you see all the ads every day.
Correct.
You know all the angles, you live in the ad library, and then you're just like, oh, we could do an ad like this, but with another book, with another topic, and then I think you use frameworks but not like consciously.
Correct, and I think at the end of the day, it's I'm in a spot where I just, as Philip said, like I think about this every day, 12, 13 hours a day. Which is where at that point maybe it turns into intuition, but I think like one of the easiest ways to start with ads is to really just copy what's working. So look at the super successful headline and replace the words that match your business then. Take that, run it, and you'll learn what works. And that's like...
I mean, if you want to optimize, and you start to get all this into the same shape and in the same frames. And this is why I think like, oh, okay, how can I put like different frameworks? And then say like, okay, let's combine it like that way, and that way, and that way, and then you have more text.
Yeah. So I saw this the other day also with how Alex Hormozy does his creative process. So I did like little research when I built this thing. And what they do is they basically use a page, I don't know its name, but it sort of shows like outliers on YouTube. So even if it's like some weird cat video or some weird dancing video, it compares basically the reach contrasted to the subscriptions. And then the creative team looks for insane outliers like 10x, 50x, 100x. And then they take the frameworks and it's like completely like B2C bullshit. And then he builds on that and makes a B2B video out of that. So that's how they do it.
Yeah. And that's also, we of course also have a smaller team behind this, but essentially whenever we have a winning script, and sometimes I just take some time to write whatever's on my mind, maybe I had an idea or something, and then we actually, after that video was successful, we do exactly that, if it worked for us, now not externally necessarily, but internally, and we figure out, okay, what are actually the elements that were used here, and then we take that as a template for the next one.
Because like if you have these different variables, like, and if you want to scale it up for your customers, for example, then you have like, okay, we do it like this 20 different types, check it out, and then just scale up, and then we do the same. But like, if you have like more people working on that, they don't have this mind working on that way.
That makes a lot of sense.
To build up like kind of a framework.
And especially if it's, if you scale it across multiple different products, different services, different clients, different industries, 100%. Then that what also Brian described with the different assets. I also took a picture of that. Just makes a lot of sense.
Brian is back, nice.
What's up?
I had like a question for you, and then I was like, "Where's Brian?"
Show him the video.
Yeah, that's what I figured. So I have like one more for Niels, and then another one. Sure. Like, I think it's also really valuable to understand like how is your entire marketing team built up? Like what do you think are the most important positions? What is the creative output you deliver with that team? Yeah. Maybe you could go into that a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. So essentially, this entire process that I described to you today is mainly responsible for the growth that we've had. Of course, there are other things that are kicking in. People liking the product, recommending the product. We have an affiliate program, so there's of course other things that come into play. But the main, how do we reach a new customer, is with this, which is why that's also the most important team on the marketing team. And so essentially, what it looks like is we have one media buyer, one creative strategist, one video editor in full time, and they handle the entire process at the end of the day.
What is the creative strategist doing? Is he just like brainstorming angles, writing scripts, everything?
So scripting is one of the main things, yes, but the entire pipeline coordination as well. So for example, Monday we have a meeting where we look into the numbers together. We see, okay, this script just did super well. This specific test did super well. What they'll then do, or what the creative strategist would then do, is they would just take that video and figure out, okay, what are the 5 best iterations that we can run this week, create this week to have launched by Friday. So it's also like really fast-paced.
Is anyone recording right now, or is he also?
We have tested creators, but unfortunately, so
best test, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, nice. And so, question for you, Brian. When it comes to VSLs, I feel like you've seen like so much, and it's like incredible, valuable to understand what you understood. So what would you say when it comes to ad creatives, video sales letters? What did you find sort of like as the winning structures and winning angles? Because there's like so many different ways, There's like the direct VSL, could do sort of like indirect. There's so many different ad types. Like, what are the common patterns you see on the ad side and also on the VSL side?
Yeah, it's so funny because I was taking notes from this presentation a lot, because right now what still seems to be like the market in the US is going like it went from like super indirect before in the past few years to now it's just like every offer and every VSL local call funnel is like super direct. Like offer up front, deliverables, everything like stated in the ad. So the ad's like a mini VSL. Like the framework is exactly what he explained, but I don't see anybody using really case study funnels in the US marketplace. And I see that as an opportunity immediately to test for not only myself, but for our clients. Because everyone's going direct. And there is no value. Like they're going cold traffic, trying to get like you said, the dating analogy, like trying to hook up on the first date, right? But like here, what I'm seeing is like, in the US marketplace right now, what is still working is the direct. But if you can take this case study funnel and put it, I think that's a huge promotion right now because no one's adding value like that in the US marketplace.
Yeah, and I feel like, for instance, like Alex Becker, it is a really direct VSL, but sort of also like indirect because he waves like so many like proof into that, and also like
for his high roast one.
Yeah, and he basically talks about how they implement. Like it's really direct how he phrases it, but sort of also has like the case study elements in it.
What's interesting about Alex Becker too is he's doing those like those really fancy production ads now, like with actors and actresses.
Oh, I haven't.
You haven't seen those?
No.
So he's going top of funnel now with those, like really high production, like straight up like Dollar Shave Club ads. You guys remember those?
Oh yeah.
So he has those for high roast now, and those are his top of funnel. And he's remarketing everybody with those to his, this simple high roast code will, print more tracking ROAS or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. But those are his indirect now.
Yeah. What would you say are like the VSL frameworks you mostly use? So what I found when I did like the YouTube analysis thing, when we analyzed the YouTube organic, is like 60-70% of every video starts with like proof. So that was something I really that sticked out to me as a pattern, is like start with proof. there's always like build up authority in the beginning, especially for the like successful YouTube channels. So what frameworks do you see when it comes to video sales letters?
Yeah, I mean nowadays you just like you said, the hook of the ad is the headline, and that is the actual hook of the VSL as well. So it's the same thing congruent every single step of the way. Yeah. So you want to start off with the big benefit immediately, and then no fluff, no theory, like very quick proof, and then go right into the value immediately. Because like especially in B2B where I'm serving the business owners, like they're all just used to seeing VSLs.
Yeah.
The same ads.
So like claim, short proof, and then educational part sort of.
Claim, quick credibility, quick proof, quick credibility, value, education, and then offer, urgency, scarcity, more education, and then obviously offer again with more proof.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it depends on the education level of the target group.
It does, yeah, for sure, 100%. Because if you're going more super cold and direct, but for business owners, I would say that's still the best framework we found.
Cool.
I have a question for Nils. How do you have like a ground rule for you? Because I see a lot you record a lot of videos. Do you have a ground rule, static ads versus video ads for you? Or do you just test around?
Really good question. So, for example, for angle testing, what we'll do is we, for example, just have the exact same static and test it against each other because it's super quick to spin up and we'll get a lot of data quite quickly. But to that point, especially in B2B, we have found that we can also run a 90-second to 3-minute video in feed and let that do the heavy lifting and then thereafter send people directly to an offer. Which is why we're like, our ad library is most likely 80% video. Because also for us, of course, it's, you know, once you sign an agency deal, you maybe have a 3-month minimum or things like that, commitment periods. For us, is if you come into the software, you don't like it, you're gone again. But we have paid a lot of money to just get you into the software in the first place. So it's super, super important for us to make sure that the people that are coming in are actually super excited, super educated, know how to use it, thus are successful and thus stay with us for a long time. So that's why video is the focus for us. Yeah.
Do you think it's another case for agencies, or is it like very similar?
It's a good question, but at the end of...
I can say, where's Anton? Statics. Like we book many calls with statics, right? Or like with the MQLs.
Last, I would say like 6-7 months, a lot of statics. But now video ads are picking up again.
Yeah, so I think it's important what you said. Like for software, you want to do more video, but for agency, I mean, you still have the sales call. Like you have enough room to set expectations and everything, and filter out if you don't like them.
Question would be though, of course, like what do the other metrics say, right? So calls booked from statics, do they show up as much as calls booked from videos? Because to the point, if it's a VSL, they know like how many case studies DXR has, what the results are, already know what the product is. To Brian's point, they'll be more likely to show up and then also actually close. So maybe you guys are measuring that, but statics work as well. I just felt like so far for us.
Yeah, I think for us it's like we have like the MQLs, so the lead magnets, sort of like casual cockpit. So people know the brand and it's sort of like almost like a retargeting effect. They see like condensed value on a static, which is like, okay, click here and download now. So it's like really, the intent is really there. If they opt in, they have the right intent. So I think that sort of like counterbalances, but I think also just test it out, yeah.
So your statics right now go to lead magnets?
Yes, like, yeah.
Cold too, or just remarketing?
I don't know.
Yeah, cold.
Also cold, yeah.
But whereas like if you compare it, the video sales letter warms up the lead as well as the lead magnet does it in a different mechanic. So at the end, you have the same funnel structure just with different content in it. So because we see similar.
Yeah.
And in case of the case study funnel, the lead magnet and the VSL are the same thing, right? So it just really depends also on, because education is so important in the entire process, how well are you getting people to consume the lead magnet? And we all know like white papers and PDFs and all that good stuff. It's very, very hard to get people to read them actually, which is why we have been so heavy on video, because it actually gets consumed.
For both of your funnels, the appointment and the case study, are they Because the appointment's obviously the call. But are you revealing the price in the appointment funnel for you right now? Like the bundle or with the sign up?
Yes, we are always very transparent about the price.
In both, yeah.
Yes, because as I said, like for us, it's for people, it's very easy to even like we have a 14-day free trial, right? If they don't like it within a time frame.
The offer, the 14-day free trial.
Not necessarily. We also have like 1 month bundled with other info products. Like we put a lot of thought into the offer as well, because the higher the perceived offer, the better the conversion at the end of the day as well. So we have different versions of it, but we are always upfront about the price. Exactly.
All right. Looks good, hey?
Cool. Thanks, Vince.